and we are reviewing the movie
Harriet. The spy, not the spy.
So part 2.
Yes.
Of our movie review.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really, this is going to turn into part 3 because our last video
it split itself.
So part 3 of our video, Harriet's good friend Janelle Monáe
got whacked.
Died. The Fugitive Slave Act, I believe, was passed, and Harriet is now on her mission to get her parents.
Yeah. They went through the whole meeting, and she's like, "I'm going back. I don't know what it feels like in antebellum South."
And now at this point, they are no longer going from Maryland to Philly.
Nope.
Because it's no longer safe to do that.
Nope.
Because they can be
tracked down
and brought back into slavery. So now they are going 600 miles instead of 100 miles to Canada.
To Drake's house.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Degrassi. Great show.
Drake's house.
What, man?
So this one, this will probably be the juicy episode.
Juice.
The juicy part of the review. Okay.
Yes.
So now where are we? What's next?
She is going to get her peoples. Is this product placement? Are we getting paid for this?
No, we're not.
This is some BS.
I just like M&M minis.
Look, it's movie talk. So see M&M.
I got these from the movie.
Endorse. We need that. Corporate sponsorship. Let's do this. So now she is going to get her parents. And it's funny because her mom don't even believe it's her. She's like, "I'm your daughter. Oh, you the angel coming to take me home, Lord?" She's like, "No, Mama, it's me. It's Minty." She's like, "It's Minty. Winter Fresh? You here, Winter Fresh? What you doing here, Winter Fresh? Wasn't you free?" Y'all Minty. So she's like, what you doing? She's like, "I'm going to go see Daddy." So somebody turned her father in for being an abolitionist because he was helping slaves. And she got word that they were going to come and lynch him. And she was like, "Daddy, we got to go. They come to lynch your black ass.
They're on their way right now.
You was saving some niggas and the white people is upset. Get your ass on." So, Daddy, Mama, and then random people. Like, who were the other random? Like an older lady?
Everybody just kept jumping on like, we out.
Right, like it's the Freedom Wagon. Like there was a horn that just instantly played Swing Low and they just ran to it. It's like dun, 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 swing low, and they just ran out the woods. So she's taking all of them, and the black dude that was initially against her had become one of her right hand men down there. He was helping, and he played the white game. The whites would go to him for information, and he would supply them false information, and he would get everything he needed to aid the Underground Railroad escapes. So from there, they're working together. They get to a boat. And, they get on a covered wagon. And there is a young mulatto woman who is a slave, but is a product of masses late night creeps. She was. Now, I hate to say this, but this is how dumb white people was in this fucking movie. So, he's like, is you John's boy? And she was like, "Yes, I am." That's my Paul.
That's what you think I am?
I will, yeah, I'm the son. What's up?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm boss. I was the son. So it's like, "Oh, tell your daddy, whatever the hell his name was, he said hi. And he still owed me $2.
Y'all gone through now, yeah?
Gone. I know them. They cool. They good people. It's gone. So the original slave owner of Harriet Tubman and the slave catcher come up, and he's like, "Yeah, no, just one covered wagon come through. Such and such boy." And they go back, and he's like, "That would work, but he has all girls. He has 3 girls. Mm-hmm. He ain't got no sons."
That was them.
And the slave catcher, see, this is also where you see them play two sides, because you can tell he's like, this white dude don't know shit neither. Because he actually was like, okay, before these rednecks catch on that that's really them, I say we circle around and get them. Mm-hmm. So they just bypass everything, go around and catch up to the wagon. Now, at that point, they're gone. They make it through the woods onto the boat.
And Minty's like, take my family, get them to a safe place. I'm going to stay here.
I'm going to do what I need to do real quick. I got some business. And from there, she circles back and then leads them into the woods. The slave tracker follows her first. And as she's climbing, he shoots at her. And barely missing her head, he hits the rock above her. And she pulls out her piece. Blow that man hat smooth off his head. And he was like, oh. Like he was
said, I'm going to kill you dead.
I'm going to kill you dead. I'm going to kill you dead, you black man.
Yeah. Now, slave master has said, don't kill my property.
Right.
She's still mine.
Right.
Don't kill her. Bring her to me untouched.
I'm on deal.
Yeah.
And this is where it goes to show, even though you think you're working with the white man,
they will still kill you.
And literally shot him in the back.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's not exaggeration. He shot him in the back of the movie and he dropped him dead.
He shot him in the head from the back.
Ain't that the back?
No, in the head.
I mean, you can play semantics. Ain't that the back of your body?
No, I think
that ain't the back of your body at all? Completely different thing? Sure. Shot him in the back of the head. Back of the body. Whatever. Shot him in the back. Where is all up for debate. But, so he dropped him. And they circle around. Harriet gets the high ground. He comes around on a horse. And he points his weapon. She points hers. And he fired. He ran out of bullets. And she had him dead to rights. Dead to rights. Told him that he went to pull his pistol. And she shot that man.
She shot his whole hand.
In the hand.
In his strong hand.
Take my hand, child. It's my strong hand.
In my strong hand.
Look, that's going to make for a lot of lonely nights now. Or the grip is better. I don't know.
Then she gave him a speech about people don't own people.
You don't own people. It ain't meant.
Peoples don't own peoples.
She got a whole Spanish real quick. His name was Peoples all of a sudden.
Peoples don't own
peoples.
And then she ran away.
Well, no, she
had
the
that
whole
part
speech.
might have been my worst part.
But you know what? She had the whole speech though. She was like, "You gonna live long enough to see us free. You gonna see it. It's gonna come the day when the war comes and we's free." And then she got on the horse and rode away. Mm-hmm. But I still feel like the rifle was on the ground. I'd have plucked her ass off. I'm sorry.
That's why that part was
right. I'm like, he had a rifle. I'd have rolled. Boom! You coming with me?
Period.
But she rode off into the sunset
and left him there with his broke hand.
Right. My strong hand.
And that was that.
And then it just showed her of old age, remarrying. Finally, I thought she was gonna marry the abolitionist black dude.
Yeah, it seemed like
they had like a small sexual tension.
Not tension.
There was sexual tension.
Admiration.
There was sexual tension.
No,
just a little.
Because you're you. That's what it gotta be.
You saw him. You looked at her like she freeing niggas. Like,
no.
Hey, free me.
It's like I'm proud of you.
They wanted to role play. He's like, I'm gonna hide in the bushes. Come save me.
Oh God. Anyway, it turned out that she became like the leader. Oh, gosh.
Of a civil war battalion.
Mm-hmm.
That was on mission. She was one of the only women to do that.
Mm-hmm. She became a spy.
Right, she was a spy. Which they would know her ass by this point. Like
she freed by herself 70 people by herself.
Right.
Then, but all to
like 700.
Well, with when she led the army
right.
It was 750.
Because they liberated, because they had ships and stuff. See, at this point, so that's the upgrade. See, that's when you know, like, okay, you have a little covered wagon. Now you got ships.
Mm-hmm.
All of y'all. See, I'd have been scared. I'd be like, if I was a slave, I was like, we got here on ships. I don't know if I want to get on your boat. Your boat questionable. Last time we was on the boat, look what happened.
She built a house, a home for her family
in Canada.
And she eventually died in it was like an old folks home that she built. She died of pneumonia.
Yeah.
At the age of 91.
And what did I say her last words were?
Her last words were, "I go to prepare a place."
Yeah. Which could be far-fetched. Now that I should say that.
Well, now that we mentioned far-fetched, let's speak about the controversies.
I didn't know them. I asked you, so you have to fill me in because I don't know what people were saying about this movie.
It's a whole lot of them, y'all. So here we go.
All right.
And I didn't know either going in. I didn't know everything going in as far as controversies go. I knew that they had a problem with Cynthia.
Why?
Okay. Number one, she's British. She's not African American. She's black.
Right.
But she is not African American. So huge problem for a lot of African Americans is how come it can't just be one of us? Because we are authentic. This story is authentic.
Because y'all can't act.
Us. And in addition to that, black women are often at the bottom of the totem pole to be chosen for anything. Anything. Dating, acting, just anything. We are at the bottom of the totem pole to be chosen. So a lot of black people, a lot of African Americans, I'm going to be specific, felt a way about that.
But what actors,
and I do too. I ain't gonna act like I just don't care. But it's not enough to deter me from watching a film.
But no, because then I have to say this. What actresses felt that they should have got the part? Do you know?
No.
Okay, so not knowing what actresses felt the way about it is a thing.
It wasn't just the actresses. It was the audience.
But then I say this too, though, and this is what we forget. The transatlantic slave trade wasn't exclusive to the Americas. Okay, so even if she's British, how they get to Britain? It's the same means of transportation. Do your history. If we're going to complain about a period piece, a history piece, then do your research on slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. They didn't just come to the Americas. They went to the islands as well as the UK. So she could be a direct descendant of somebody who went through that and not an immigrant who came later. So I don't care how people feel about that.
I take it back. I can't say I just don't care. I do have a preference, but it's not enough for me to be out protesting. It ain't enough for me to not go to the movie. Right. If you called me and asked me who should do it, I'm going to say an African American woman.
Who?
Angela Bassett.
I was about to say she's too old, but she look young as hell.
She could do it, and so could oh God,
Denai Guerrera from Black Panther. Okoye.
No, yeah, she could, but that's not who I was trying to say. I'm trying to say, does her name start with an L? Gosh,
Lupita
how to get away with murder?
Vern Cox, that's a transgender.
Such a wonderful actress. She was Widows.
She was also in The Help. You mean? Yeah, I can't remember her name off the top. She was also in Suicide Squad, right? Wasn't she Amanda Waller? Isn't that her? Yeah, that's her.
I don't know. I'm talking about, she plays in all the serious movies.
That narrows it down. The one black lady that plays in all the serious movies.
Unfortunately, it does.
Horrible. That is terrible, by the way.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to get her name.
I'm get her name.
But she should be it.
I don't know. I mean, for me.
And I would do Lupita.
Lupita's British. Isn't she?
Is she British?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
Lupita, Winston Duke, all them Black Panther. I thought they were all British. Chadwick's American, but
I think Lupita's just African.
Okay, is she?
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, we're gonna be mad that the African played the African slave.
But she is British. She's African.
Right.
Whatever.
See, black is black. Goddamn.
African American.
We black out here.
Dang, but I'm so mad I cannot think of her name.
You'd have to.
And she got the computer over there. Okay, well,
she ain't up there no more. She's down there doing
her thing.
Yeah, but I mean, that controversy didn't bother me. That to me, I feel like now that's yet another division between our community to not see the movie though, because now it's something that can be powerful and unifying. We're gonna throw these small little things in there to make you feel like, well, I'm not gonna go see it because of this, because I feel like it should have been this. I feel slighted. But it's a story of us. So every time we don't do it, we're
right. Well, there's more. There's a lot more.
All right.
Okay. Not only is she not African American, she has written some tweets that would suggest that she don't necessarily care that much about African Americans, or at least the hood ones. Okay. Now, I was reading several tweets, and y'all, anybody that's watching this, if you found one that's like really shines light that she just does not like African Americans, please post that. Right. I did read one where she was kind of like, mocked how ghetto girls talk. So like somebody said, because she's a singer. Right. And she was like, they were like, can you sing for me? And she's like, for sure, I'm going to do that for you as soon as I get done doing what I'm doing. I'm just, she kind of did like a playful thing where it was like, okay, stop that. That's how I felt. Like, I'm not mad because we mock people. Right. We do that in our community. Right. We do that.
We play the dozen. Yeah. Yo, mama's so fat. She's on the rainbow and makes Skittles.
Yeah, like we talk about everything, everybody and everything in amongst us. Right. And so I did not read that as she don't like black girls, African Americans, ghetto girls. So she has written some questionable tweets that's kind of like, what's your beliefs? Now for me, that was something else that deterred some people. For me, not so much. Because one, I don't know what she believes. Right. Number two, either way, number one, this story is much bigger than her. Right. And what her beliefs are. Right. Number two, for me, it's like, she's, no matter what she likes, she's playing one of us.
Right. And the story was more important.
She's playing one of us who put her life on the line to free.
Right.
Us, African Americans.
And we're getting a movie about our history and we're going to nitpick it.
So she clearly has some kind of respect
for the source material, for the struggle.
And even if she don't, she's just another person that don't care about us, who don't like us.
Even if she did it for a check.
But Hollywood don't like us either. Nobody likes us.
They make movies for checks every day. So now she made a movie for a check. Why are you going to go say this is about the check? Every movie is about a check. That's why they act. But,
like, because people, I'm not watching, because Hollywood never cared about.
But here's my problem. Anybody watching this, anybody who feels that way, then all the clothes that you got in your closet,
they don't like
your drawers, your socks, your tops, stop wearing it.
Throw it back.
Especially freaking Ralph Lauren. He said my clothes wasn't meant for niggas. He said that. But y'all still run and go get it every single day. You don't look at who owns the parent companies to other companies. So if you're going to make a stand on
somebody don't like you.
They don't like you. Right.
They don't.
At all.
This whole country
don't like you. They don't like you.
Sometimes I be feeling like we forget that they already don't like us. And it's as if like, you showed your true colors and told us you don't like us. So now we gonna do something.
Right. But y'all protesting for 5-minute ass people. Stop.
They already, these higher ups don't like us.
Right.
They never have. It's not a situation of they used to and now they're betrayed.
But here's the funny thing. I was having this conversation the other day too. FUBU, right? Because we were talking about name brands and stuff. And I don't wear a lot of brands. I wear just basic, clothes. I put whatever I want on it. And we were talking about like FUBU. People hated on FUBU, but you forget it was for us, by us. And then you say it's corny, but then you say there's nothing for us. Well, if you don't support us, then you're not going to have anything else made by us. And if historically, I used to have the book, but there's a super thick book of all the inventions that black people made in this country, in the world. And if you read it, a lot of the things that were created were stolen by master, because when you were owned, your ideas were his ideas. So honestly, you want to talk reparations even with that for a second, those families technically owe that slave money because he did create it. And if you can document, you can prove documentation that it was stolen. I don't care if you're Hewlett, I don't care what rich elite white family you are. If you made your money off the backs of an enslaved person, you owe money. And that means either you half it or you give them shares and stocks in that company, and you lose control of that company to them because it is stolen property, and it's proven. There isn't statutes for that because it built this country. So if you talk about people being angry about things, that's where you get the anger in it. But anything beyond that, with just being angry at the movie for who played or portrayed things, get a real cause. You know what I mean? That's kind of why I made that statement. Get a real cause. All those things are things you can actually protest against right now. Is the impoverishment of us due to misrepresentation. They stole our inventions. They stole our wealth and then told us to be okay with it. So stop. Like, it's a movie about us. Learn your history. And then if you don't like the portrayal, guess what you do? Learn the techniques and skills and reshoot it.
Or you don't have to take that portrayal and let that be the end all be all. Right. There's hella documentaries and hella movies. You can go and do your own research. This should spark
interest.
Yeah. Okay, so then that brings us to another controversial thing, because there are a few. There were embellishments within this movie.
Figured.
Which it's a
movie.
Hollywood movie, so there's going to be embellishments.
Entertainment.
So there were several.
Right.
Okay.
But you know what? I wouldn't mind if Morgan Freeman came over and was just like, it was a hot summer. Harriet went down.
You get on my nerves.
Think about how dope that would have been. You have to get busy. Wait, you get busy freeing or you get busy lynching.
There's no real account that the Broaddus family, aka the slave masters, her slave masters, that they ever really had a son, and that son was Gideon. Okay. So that part might be an embellishment. Also, the black bounty hunter is an embellishment. Also, Janelle Monáe's character embellishment. Right. Okay, so Harriet, actually, when she first went, because there are some different things as I've been doing my research, and you guys, please correct me if you learn anything different. Let me know. Harriet, she had received her name prior to, but that is a thing when you go free that you change your name. But she had changed her name prior to that moment. Okay. But for the movie, they made it for that moment.
Right. They had to streamline to make people understand, this is how it works.
That was fine for me. I don't care. Right. Harriet actually had 9 brothers and sisters. Okay. 3 of them were sold, 3 girls was sold off far away. Right. That's what really went on. They didn't show all of that in this movie.
They wanted to kind of get her story.
Yeah. When she left the first time, from what I learned in my research after watching it, her brothers were supposed to go with her. Okay. They got scared or something, which they portrayed that, but that wasn't her first journey. So they got scared, and then they went back because they saw signs of, and they went back, and then she was like, I'm out of here. Right. And she left by herself. So that was something. And then it was, I believe, her 3rd time coming back. Mm-hmm. From what I learned, it was her 3rd time coming back that her husband had took another wife. It wasn't like the first time.
So he was just treacherous from the jump.
Well, from what they said was there's not an account of really how he felt about her leaving. Like, they kind of felt like maybe he didn't want her to go. Right. Like, in the movie, he was supportive. He was like, I would have went with you. And she didn't want him to. But there is word, and we don't know how true it is, that maybe he did not want her to go, and he had threatened to tell on her. Oh, and whatever. Bad too. So, she left by herself, came back, and then but her 3rd time coming back, she altogether, excuse me, she came back to the South 19 times. 19 times.
Y'all niggas might have been there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on how it felt.
19 times?
But
that's a whole lot of time.
But you know what? It's like we talked about kind of off camera. We had a conversation about how many people really didn't want to leave, though. And I mean, that makes you weary of going to these plantations. And I'll also bring up, because this is one thing that kind of made me mad too. I feel like Birth of a Nation should have gotten more notoriety than it did when it got made too. The whole Nat Turner story, because even in that movie, you see it took that one little nigga who told on them. So by the time they got to that 4th slave house, they had the munitions ready and shot and killed a bunch of the slave revolters. It's that black fear. Why are we afraid to be free? Why are you going to tell them? You ain't got to come.
But that plays off this new ideology that slavery is a choice.
No, slavery was far from a choice.
So then when you say, why are you afraid?
Well,
you are telling me,
right,
if I leave here, I'm going to die.
Possibly.
And if I stay here, I'm going to die. So I'm going to die either way.
But you know what? But also give it that middle passage.
To me.
But here's the thing though. But that middle passage thing too though. Many a slave rather jump in the ocean than go continue in slavery and in bondage.
But we have to think about, and I don't like that. I ain't gonna say I don't like that statement because that is true.
It is true.
How you worded it was true. How it was said in that movie was another thing.
Right.
I try to look at this holistically. So anybody that's like, okay, what's her deal of playing devil's advocate?
Always. She would have told on you.
I would not have told
She's telling on
you.
She's telling on niggas.
You old house nigga. I would not have told. I ain't saying nothing. Okay. But I look at this holistically because those who survived slavery, the beatings, the torture, the malnourishment, the dehumanization that came along with slavery, those were the true survivors.
Right.
Those are the reasons why those people are the reason why I'm sitting here today. So some people could not have been freed.
Right.
Now some people jumped over.
Yeah.
But where did their legacy go? It went in that river.
Ocean.
So they didn't help us by jumping in.
Right, but you know.
So all of that sounds cool. I'm not gonna be inbound to jump in the water. Okay.
Okay, but then
cool.
But in that same regard, if you tell it on niggas, like we said before, freedom at that time, they didn't understand the notion of it. Only some slaves were like, this isn't it for me. I can't die here. And it took special people to have that notion that this isn't it. And we need to do more. Like you said, they were broken. Their spirits were broken. Everything about them, their mental was broken down. Because again, we always forget that even in slavery, everything about them was taken away. Our history was stripped. So when we go to find it now, that's another thing I hate with culture is that when you actually start to dig and research, you have a lot of people say, no, that wasn't us or these Egyptology people. Let me explain something to you. This is something I was thinking about the other day. We're in America now, right? Y'all, they're here for us. It's the government. Because we're talking that woke-ish.
He woke. I'm asleep. See? Snitching. I'm just playing.
But no, think about it. We're in 1,000 years, 2,000 years, they're going to say we were in America, right? Black people were in America, right? All the ideology, like American Idol and all that, if we take this fame construct, right? And some of these monoliths continue on and survive, right? If they were to do history, just like with these Egyptology people, right? They'll say, well, we were in America, so we had to believe what they believed, and we had to be this. The same thing with Egypt. We had to, we were these people, we were this. No. There was a difference. We were slaves in those countries. We weren't of those countries. So each time we lost ourselves, it just so happens prior we were able to re-find us. But this enslavement, this thing, they totally wiped out everything about us. So we're still dumb enough in 1,000 years to think that we were a part of this country. And we are not. We built it, but we are not them. We didn't have the same ideology behind why we were willing to do it. We were stripped away of our humanity and made less than. And nowadays they want to call us monsters, like Hillary Clinton a few years ago, and all these things. But you made us these things, and then you tell us we're horrible. But you're the manufacturer of all of these oppressive systems that now we get trapped into trying to find our identity. So, there's a lot to it. There really is.
There is.
But my black ass wasn't jumping in the ocean. But
I wouldn't either.
I'd have been in the kitchen. I would have. And I'd have poisoned every last one of them.
Did they let the men in the kitchen now?
Yeah.
I ain't never seen none of the men in the kitchen.
Even if I wasn't in the kitchen, I was serving shit.
Yeah.
I'd have been
you would have been like
arsenic.
You would have been like the top butler or something.
Hey. Look, I hate to say it.
Like the top.
I want to say it would have been like Django, but I love black people. So I would have had his ear, but I would have been secretly like, come on, nigga, let's go. I wouldn't be like, who that nigga on that nag, boss? Who that nigga standing in the big house? What? Nah, I ain't doing all that.
So back. Okay, so there were a lot of little things that Hollywood embellished to make a movie out of it.
Because it's a movie, people.
It's a movie.
But it's history.
So for me specifically, I don't for this style of movie, I don't need verbatim.
Right.
Not for this style of movie.
Right.
They kept her integrity. Mm-hmm. They gave a deep generalization of what went on. They kept her story. We still know that she got free. Yeah. She came back and freed a whole bunch of people, and she was not no soft cookie
at all. Yo, did you see the picture of her at the end though?
Oh, she been through some stuff. That's what really made me cry because you could see the pain behind her eyes.
You like you weathered.
She went through some stuff.
Yo,
and then you think about because I'm thinking. Okay, let me go. We'll come back.
Right,
but those were some of the things that were embellished.
Right.
And for me, those people, like for instance, Gideon represented the family, the overall mentality of the family, of the Brodus family.
Right. And the South, though. Because literally, the way that they depicted blacks, it was fucked up. Excuse my language. It was jacked up because it was, these niggas is my property.
Well, that's true. However, they gave a little variation. Gosh, what did the guy say in that review? He didn't just he was like, they had some that was like willing to like, I'm gonna kill him and torture him.
Right.
But they had ones that were like, oh, these are my workmen. Like, I can't remember how he worded it.
When he was saving, he's like, why are you beating them like that? These are still men. Like, they work our fields. Like, you can't just be out
they tried
here.
To make it seem like
they tried to humanize it a little bit, which was BS though, because they didn't look at us as humans for how long? We were 3/5 of a person. So
that's the outcome to that too. I'll come to that. So yeah. Overall, there were embellishments in the movie, like Janelle Monáe. Although her character was not a real person in Harriet's life, she represented all the people she may have encountered once she reached freedom, all the people that may have helped her, all the ladies that may have helped her in freedom.
I hate to say this.
Wait a minute. The black bounty hunter represented the individuals who were black, who were not for what Harriet was doing.
Right.
They thought that what she was doing was not okay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He represented, because in her 19 trips and all of these slaves that she saved, somebody black wasn't cool with this.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
Somebody did not think this was okay.
At all.
And was mad about it and was helping out the slave masters.
Right. Well, that's history, though. There's documented slave
and although
she
didn't have that specific guy in her story, he represented that notion.
What that danger could have been.
Yeah. There was something else, but yeah. So some people were quite upset that they just made this up. So that is another part of the controversy.
Here's my problem with it, and I don't know if you caught on to it, and I love Janelle Monáe. I really do. I love Janelle Monáe. She's documented bisexual or whatever. And the scenes when she was in the bathtub and stuff like that, it was like slight undertones of like homoerotic stuff, because the way that they interacted in the one bathtub scene was like, okay, like you.
See, I didn't
I don't want to go into that, but here's the thing.
Gave me and I could see that because it gave off Celie and Suge vibes. Right. But it wasn't like, because Harriet didn't have anybody in her life that was kind of like a confidant, a best friend,
and that's what it was meant to be.
Where there was love,
right?
So you could feel that there was love. There was
a bond, right?
I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to nurture you. But for him,
it translated
as this could be a sexual.
Because that was the energy that was kind of going. If it's a little subtle nuances in it, it's not like this super blatant, thing.
I didn't get that, but I did feel the love.
I mean, I felt that sisterhood. I did say that. I felt that sisterhood.
Bath water. I meant to say run your bath water, but I said about to say rub your body.
Let me rub you. Let me rub you down. No, but I mean, that wasn't a huge part or a huge thing for me, but it was just, I know it's like, why is that? That's a bit much. It went a little too far. And just knowing Janelle Monáe's history,
that's probably why.
But I love Janelle Monáe, but it just translated kind of like, all right.
Janelle Monáe, I have a love-hate with her, but she do too much for me sometimes. She's either nail on the head, bomb,
right,
or just doing way too much.
Right.
Like, girl, chill out.
Right.
But whatever.
Right, but no, I mean.
So, like, for me, knowing that they've embellished.
Right.
For me, whenever I see something that I like, a movie, whatever, I'm going to go and do more research because I want to know what the real verbatim is because I enjoy. So how many husbands did she have? When did she? So her first time coming back, she took this many, but she ain't take that many in the movie they just showed. So I understand why they can't. They trying to fit her whole life in a 2-hour movie. Right. It can't be boring. We know that she didn't have anybody. She did these tricks successfully, but to have watched her do them successfully,
repeatedly. Okay, she got another one. She won this one. Okay,
yeah, like they had to create an entertaining.
But then if they would have embellished that, people would have been mad. Well, now the slave tracker's on her like this, and she hid in the cave this time. Somebody would have been mad at that.
What get on my nerves though is I don't understand why the embellishments are such a huge issue for this movie and not for any of the other Black History movies. Like Martin Luther King Jr. was not killed by a gunshot.
No, he was smothered.
They don't put that in the movie.
He was smothered by the doctor when they took him in.
They don't put that in the movie.
You know why, though? It kills the white narrative, but here's the thing, too.
We know that.
But here's the thing.
But what I'm saying is nobody has a problem when they leave out.
But I was going to hit them with this. A lot of people also don't know that the American government, the United States government, was put on trial for Martin Luther King's murder and found guilty because they hired the hit. The United States government. That's document. You can look that up. There's court documents.
But they ain't put that in it. But nobody has a...
Right.
For some reason, the embellishments or the add-ons were so huge for this movie. And I really wonder why. Because I feel like this movie really... Although there's Hollywood add-ons, whatever... Although there's even more controversy than I've mentioned yet...
Right.
It inspired...
Right.
It was so, like, for me, I got on my grind. It gave me another reason to get on my grind, to follow my purpose of what I'm supposed to be doing, to not be scared. And I felt like young kids, especially young girls, should go and be, and even if they don't go and learn more, which I wish they would, get more documentation and learn more.
Know yourself.
But even if they don't, you know enough from that movie, you've learned enough, because... Okay, that Black Bounty Hunter wasn't there. It wasn't in her story, but you know that he exists, because you might not have known that there was Black people that don't like this, You know, so that's
but you know what? It also takes it back to Boys in the Hood. Remember when they got pulled over? I don't like you because you're black. I don't like your teeth because my teeth black. You know what I mean? Like it's self-hatred. And the self-hatred was motivation to keep other people enslaved because, like, how dare you be something that I'm not?
Hating.
It's haters today. It's the same thing. How dare you be fly and I'm not? And
in my mind, they had to. It was a compressed version, and it was just the start of the story.
But you know what? I wanted to say this too, because I briefly touched on Birth of a Nation, right? What was his name that did that? Nate.
Stuff like that. I don't know.
He also played Nat Turner in the movie too, though.
Okay, I have to look
Either way, though, they blackballed him after that. Hollywood, what other movie has he been in since he made that movie? Hollywood blackballed him because it showed a black person standing up to the white establishment and killing them. How dare you kill white people on camera? And we don't, and they don't get to come back and be the saviors at the end, like white people saved it. No, it was y'all got killed because y'all enslaved people. It's the same thing with this movie. They're going to find something to nitpick because it doesn't paint white people in a positive light. I was also talking to my one friend about the 1921 Tulsa, Oklahoma riots. And they don't even teach that in school. We always talk, but here's the problem. Black history, most people don't know it because we don't seek it out. Philadelphia, 1986. Like Philadelphia, 1986. They firebombed a whole community in Philadelphia in the 80s. But we don't talk about that. So we love, and I have white friends. I love everyone. But when I say this, it's, we would rather love their history versus ours. Because if we actually made real movies about the black experience through history, Mansa Musa, the richest man in the history of the world, was a black man. We don't have a Mansa Musa movie. They were supposed to do a Toussaint Louverture movie about 10 years ago. Danny Glover was attached to do it. It was about the Haitian slave revolution. They never got it off the ground. I would love to see a Toussaint Louverture movie. Haiti freed themselves from British rule first. They were the first free niggas. But we don't talk about it. And now they try to take all that stuff back. Now America, the hurricanes, all that, they've raped the country again. But all of this is our history and we don't know it. So
anything to empower us,
we got to stop tearing it down.
You got to have something to, it's either not going to be made or you're going to have some kind of other controversial stuff that takes your attention away from it.
I hated it. White people feel, it's that white guilt too. Mm-hmm. Come on, we're friends. Why would you make that movie? I love you. It's okay. It's like, no one says we hate you, but you did it. Like, own that.
Own it.
If you stole my car and I punch you in the face, I'm like, why are you punching me? Well, you stole it. You did something not okay.
Stop.
The consequences, right? Stop trying to like brush it under the rug like we're supposed to just be. You're not slaves now. I had this conversation the other day. We're what, 4 generations removed from slavery, right? Is it 4? Because my grandma passed away a few years ago.
My grandmother's mother was a slave for a very short time.
Okay, and see, my grandmom's mom was full blood Cherokee. I got pictures. The lady, she's an Indian. Her mama, Indian. So that side, but then my dad's side, they were slaves. So like my mom's side, we got white people sprinkled in there, some Irish, some German, some shit like that. But we got Indian, full blood. I got history, track it, trace it, the whole thing. And then my dad's side were slaves. So, getting the history of both sides, you still see, even for the Native American side of me, you got the Trail of Tears. White people have not been kind to anybody. But then when these groups get together and be like, hey, you've been fucked up. Now it's, oh no, you don't be mad at us. Like, don't hurt me now. Please don't hurt me. You deserve an ass whipping. Like a full-on ass whipping. And it's not that we hate you, but you don't control it no more. And it is what it is. So movies like this, they're scared to make them because the energy that I just gave off of that, oh, this your ass now, Mr. Postman. Peace up to John Witherspoon,
Next controversial thing.
Go ahead.
There is rumor that there was a white savior and a black villain. And for me, that is not true. Just because the black slave hunter did not successfully kill Harriet, and the slave master killed him to save her, does not mean that he was a savior. He was not trying to be a savior. He was going to torture her. He wanted to protect her so he can get his money. Because number one, we didn't mention this, she was called Moses. Everybody was looking for a dude named Moses. He got word, and I'm sure that by that time I spread that it was a woman. It was probably Harriet,
right,
or Araminta. He got word that it was her. Mm-hmm. Had he brought her back,
every tar feather, they was gonna go to town.
Yeah,
you talking about every KKK's wet dream? But they was about to go.
He would be famous. He would have everything he needed at that point, bringing her back. But
history would have been.
He would later torture the mess out of her.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I don't think they would have let him.
I think he would have tortured her.
I don't think they would have let him.
But then I think too, she was still young.
Yeah.
He could have impregnated her. She really would have been on lockdown.
Oh yeah, rape was real.
He would have did her dirty for all she did.
Right. Well,
he wasn't saving her.
No, at all.
He was saving him.
Yeah, that was his property, that was his money, and he owed people money because of her actions.
And the villain was him.
Right. All the way around.
Now, the black guy was a bad guy.
I mean, he was a villain too.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a good. There's no redeemable quality in him like that.
No, but he wasn't. It wasn't like.
But he was a lackey.
Black villain, white savior. There was no white savior in this movie.
Well, because you can't. Because if you think about it, he employed that person. You're mine, nigga. You do what I tell you to do because I'm giving you this little bit of money to go get my other property.
Period.
So shut the hell up. You work for me. There was no savior.
I'm gonna kill you.
Right.
When I feel like it.
Right. So if I feel like shooting you in the face, nigga, I can do it, and no one is gonna bat an eyelash.
Period.
So there is no white savior complex in this movie. It does not exist.
That is huge. Like, I've been watching a lot of reviews. That's a huge rumor.
But you know what? That's the problem. Black people will and
people who don't watch it got so much to say. If you ain't watch it, that's your choice. That's your preference. But don't say nothing.
Right. But I mean, if you're gonna speak after actually knowing what's going on. Mm-hmm. Look at the context. Look at the whole body of work before you open your mouth. Don't relegate it to one scene and think that, he was saving them. Did you not see?
Somebody did a 30-minute review, ain't watched none of the movie.
Wow. Because remember the one scene where the slave catcher kicks the other black dude and calls him a nigger. You gonna fuck up this good money, nigger, and he kicks him like twice. And in that moment, the young boy who's on the ground was like, wow, I can't keep doing this. This ain't what it is. I mean, I love my people. I love my money, but I got to do some people. Mm-hmm. And he had that epiphany. And so at no point was it just him being this monster. The white slave owner from Jump was the monster, was the villain. If you hear his terminology, the way he spoke, everything, his agenda was fuck the niggas. Mm-hmm. Like, there was no redemption at all in him. It was my property. I own you. You're going to do what I say. I do what I want with my property. Shut up. And that's what it was. But the one, before you get back into controversy, I had to. The white fear. When the mom is in the bed and she's having an anxiety attack and a panic attack because she's losing black people. She was like, there's 5 niggas ran off last night. This plantation ain't worth but 5,000 and they 2,000 apiece. What we gonna do? She said, what we gonna do? It was like, it reminded me of, I see white people. Like, it was just that whole moment. It's like, yo, you're tripping because you can't own people no more. Like you, she's like, white lady, you tripping. For what? Because you can't have niggas no more? Really? Man. And I mean, that to me was another one of those white privilege moments because it was a whole white privilege just expose. Right. It's just, come on, man, stop. Wrong is wrong, right is right, and what they
had come up with justification. For what they were doing. So for them, this is right. This is my cattle.
Right. But see, but you know what? This is where white fear comes in.
But this would really, I think a lot about mental health.
Yeah.
And I think
PTSD.
I think a lot of focus is placed on African Americans having PTSD and mental health situations from slavery. But I think from a perspective of the mental health of these slave masters. When you really think about
fear,
what generations of dehumanizing people,
right?
Emasculating people,
right.
Raping people,
right.
Whipping people, generations
right.
of this being cool.
Right.
Think about what it's done to people of today.
Right. Well,
that mindset is evil, right. And it has gone on for years, and it's still going on.
But here's the thing: how many times do you hear white people say, "You're not slaves anymore. Get over it." Right? And that's kind of why I was touching on only being kind of 4 generations removed. Right? So if I'm sitting around my grandma as a kid, and I hear the stories of Jim Crow and segregation, and you can't sit at the fountains, and you can't do this. And one thing my grandma said. My whole life, she always told me this because my grandma was mixed. She was Native American and black or white, something. She was something. She was a lot. I have a lot in there. But my grandma always said she was too black for the whites and too whites for the blacks. Nobody accepted my grandmother. So she just did her. I mean, my grandma had 18 kids. Or no, my grandma's one of 18, and she had 10 kids.
Jeez Louise.
So, hearing those stories, it lets you know. And then hearing the stories that she tells about her mom. So you go from Jim Crow to slavery, essentially, or sharecropper. So you're in that span. So for me, that is 3 generations, 4 generations removed. If we talk about, and my great-grandma was called Mama. She didn't have a real name. They just called her Mama. Real shit. This is my life. Her name was Mama. So
all them kids, they probably don't know what her name is. Everybody just call her Mom.
It's Mama. So, you look at that, and those are stories I heard. So when you talk about PTSD, it's working human service. Are we not told about vicarious trauma? PTSD or slavery in black communities is vicarious trauma. It is passed down from this to this to this to this, because if you hear stories of survival from your grandparents, you take that on when you're like, yo, I love that person. I'm looking at this person in the eyes, and to see when they tell you a story, the fear that they have when they speak and when they talk on subjects, you take that in.
Yeah, you think about vicarious evil, though, being transferred.
Right. And that's what you get with that.
From great-grandpa to grandpa to dad. And even if you're not evil now, there is some remnants, some mindset, something that you've had to conquer.
Right. But that's where it went into what I asked you earlier. Just because you have a good slave master to take you to get mani-pedis.
You get on my nerves.
I'm just saying. And I had the shitty slave master who was whipping niggas. And I'm saying, let's go. And you looking at Miss Sarah like, Miss Sarah good to me. And Miss Sarah like, ain't I good to you? Didn't I get you that good weave? Don't you like your hair?
But that's what we were talking.
Right.
Listen, I'm not saying everybody don't need to be free, but I like to. Okay, for those who don't know, my degree is in applied conflict resolution. So with that, I have been trained to think about and consider opinions, objectives that may not be my own. Mm-hmm. I love to delve into the mindset of somebody that's doing some stuff that I would never do.
Right.
So in my mind,
she's telling on niggas.
I'm never telling on niggas. But if I had slavery for some slaves, not all, brought about security. So if you have the slave master who does manis and petties,
you want to stay.
You may want to stay because of security. I know I'm cool. My kids are cool. Master Sarah gonna take care of me and has been taking care and has been kind to my family.
So let me brush this horse.
We are gonna be okay if I stay here. Right. If I go out there, I may be free, but what comes with, because freedom comes with a cost.
Right. Freedom isn't free.
And you gotta think, Harriet traveled 100 miles.
Right.
We don't know what animals she came across.
Oh, of course. Mountains.
I also read that she would travel in the winter months.
Yeah.
Because you're not expecting them to be out and about looking for you in the winter. No. She traveled on the weekend, like she would come on a Saturday because she knew that slaves was off on Sunday. Right. So like she moved different, but you got to think about the broken bones, the cuts, the bruises, your feet feeling numb.
Slave feet.
If I'm over here with Master Sarah and she getting manis and petty days, why would I leave?
But then let me ask you
I'm not saying that that's okay, but that is another mentality.
But let me ask you this question. Isn't that then like an abusive relationship?
Yeah.
You know he's knocking you upside your head, but he give you $500 afterwards and say, go clean yourself up.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's sick.
If that's what you're doing. Now, not every slave situation was that situation where they're knocking you upside your head.
Right, but slavery is still slavery.
But you know, slavery initially wasn't supposed to be this bondage situation,
right?
You know what I'm saying? If this dehumanized, and that's why, and that's another thing that comes with like biblical, where it says, obeying your slave masters.
Because there was a time frame for you to be. I was literally listening to this morning at work, Where if at the end of your servitude, if you wanted to
you
leave,
had servitude because you were paying off a debt.
Right. But if you wanted to go at the end of it, you could leave. But if you didn't,
you're not getting beaten. You're not getting raped.
No. But if you wanted to stay, they would take you over to the council. They would look at you. They would put a hole through your ear, and you would be indebted to them your entire life. You would work it out forever.
And that's your choice to have
right. And that's biblical. So that happened. So, and this is also why I say even we can get deeper, and I don't know how deep you want to get. Because we could go all around and talk about a lot. But just understand the ideology the white people took when it came to slavery was not what slavery was supposed to be.
No. And
it's
so when it was written
works.
biblically, those instructions were initially for
a different system and structure than what came of this.
Right. However, those instructions, unfortunately, kept some slaves alive.
Right.
Which is why some of us have rights and freedoms, because they were able to endure, they were able to obey, unfortunately, or to listen to slave masters long enough to live, build a family, so that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So to obey your slave master actually saved a lot of people, unfortunately.
It did.
That was a thing. It was. Now it ain't do nothing for the Harriet Tubmans or the Nat Turners who had a whole nother mission from God.
Right. But see, this is also where we dig into, if you read the Bible, and I'll say it, Deuteronomy chapter 28, 15 through 68, it talks about slavery. Honestly, it does. It outlines the American slavery. So whether it's past, present, or future prophecy, the Bible holds all of that. So whether or not you choose to believe it, read it, because it does touch on slavery, and not only the blacks, but the Native Americans and the Taínos, because during all of the conquistador missions and stuff like that with South America, they destroyed all of that. Like I ordered a book called Lost Tribes in the Promised Land. And it was about the 10 other tribes of Israel who went into captivity in Assyria and then migrated to the Americas. And that's how you get the Incas, the Mayans, and all that. That was that civilization. Okay. And that's history, though. We don't take time long enough to read. No. But they are actually, the Native Americans were black when they first got here. That's why when white people got here, it was like, I'm brown people. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. They were black. They looked like us. So we know historically it was us. It was the whitewashing, just like everything else. How do you think I got light skin? Somebody in there was sneaking into the slave hut, and boom, boom, here we go. So, you had that not only in the blacks, but Native Americans, Mexican, all of that. We were all one people, truthfully. If you do your history and you see the migration of all of this, it's biblical accounts. And whether or not you choose to believe it, it's up to you, but it's in there. The slavery of it all, when you look at it in Deuteronomy, the chapter or verse 68 or whatever, it says you'll go into slavery again on ship. You'll go into Egypt again on ships. Egypt, the word Egypt at that time meant slavery or bondage. Like the Bible tells you that's what that word means. And it says you'll be conquered by a nation as swift as an eagle, right? What's America's symbol? The eagle. So if the Bible's saying that these people will be enslaved by these people with this symbol, yet we don't want to believe that we're connected to that at all, because they call the Bible a white man's book. But read it. If you read it, you see it's really not that. It's all interpretation. By white men. The whole faith is a sub-Saharan faith. White people were not in sub-Saharan Africa. There were no white people. It ain't a white book at all. They took it, but also...
I hate when people say that.
But here's the thing.
What?
Not everybody knows about the Apocrypha either. The Apocrypha was removed in 1611. There's 14 additional books that were originally in the canon, but are out of it. And it talks about the heathen will paint their likeness in the book. There's a scripture in the Bible.
Every single situation or scenario that could be presented is in the Bible in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. But we don't own it because, again, it's that ideology that it's the white man's book. Instead of it actually, because here's another thing. I have a friend or associate I went to high school with. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, but he always comments on stuff that I put up when it's a spiritual thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I was hitting him with scriptures the other day, and he was like, well, why you keep going to scripture? Because we're talking about scripture. We're talking about a spiritual matter, and you don't know what you're talking about. And it kind of, for me, it feels like he's been taught by white people, like the preacher in the beginning of the book, obey your masters. You're talking to me from the slave master's perspective, and not from the person that the book is written about.
People don't realize that they blame the Bible for helping to enslave us, but they don't blame the Bible for helping to free us.
And it has.
And it has.
In so many ways.
So, although it was definitely used and aided and corrupted
Yes.
in a manner to help us to be enslaved and stay enslaved,
right.
But it was also one very key element in our freedom.
Right. Well, because also, even to touch on that, there's a scripture that says rightly dividing the word. They knew that if they changed the context, it would dehumanize us and make us look like this. So, and also, we didn't read their language. So they had our book.
We were beat.
Right. They took.
And that should tell you something right there.
Right.
Listen to what I say, and if you read this,
I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to tell you what's in this book.
Right.
But if you read it, I'm killing you.
Right.
That should tell you right there. Like,
so how many of these churches?
I should probably read this book.
Right. So, but how many of these churches were brought up on that ideology that we won't read, we'll just regurgitate what the pastor says? How many churches actually say, read it for yourself nowadays? They stopped.
Well, they came up in an era where it was a do as I say era.
Right. But
don't question.
But then if you never read it,
because you will die.
But think about how many traditions we have in the black community that don't spawn from biblical text, but from oral tradition. My mama did it, your mama did it, this did it, so you're going to do it. So when you go to read the Bible, you tell your family, hey, God said don't do that. Oh, don't worry about that. That's nothing. We're going to do this because we like it. We feel good. But then there's scriptures that say, don't do that because it feels good. So, if you actually read it, everything about our liberation is in the Bible, but we don't go there. So when you look at slavery, they knew that if we read it, it would have freed us instantly. Mm-hmm. So by beating us and changing the language on us,
even creating slavery Bible books.
Oh man, the slave Bible? I have not read it yet. I don't know what's in the slave Bible. I don't know if I want to own one just to be like, hey, I went through it.
I'm cool. Anyway, there's another controversial thing that I heard when I was doing my research. Mm-hmm. One of the reviewers felt away because it wasn't brutal enough. They felt like they made slavery look like a cakewalk.
Slavery light.
Yeah, it was a diet slavery.
Right. It's horrible. Why are you laughing at that? That is terrible.
Slavery zero. You get on my nerves. Don't laugh at this.
That's horrible.
What time is it? I'm supposed to get my hair done. But anyway, slavery light. They felt like this movie was that. Like, because it didn't show them whipping, it didn't show them beating, it didn't show. What? They felt like Gideon was soft. They felt like
he wasn't soft. He punched in the face a couple times.
Yeah, they felt like they made her journey look soft. And if I was going to critique, because I do have some critiques, that would be one.
Right.
I really wish but that's me. I like to know verbatim.
You know what?
How long did it take? How many times did you go?
You know what I would have liked to see?
I would have liked to know more, but I do feel like they gave enough.
Here's my thing. There were certain parts of it they drug for me. Just a few, like just small little transitions. I think when she was in the bushes singing, and then all of a sudden on the slave drop because she got bold in the daytime and was taking slaves. I feel like that scene could have been a little bit more impactful had it had a better cinematographer. Because for me, you live in Pennsylvania now. Have you ever been out Gettysburg? Have you ever seen it?
Have you been to Gettysburg? I think I have.
Have they taken kids out there lately? Mm-mm. We used to do trips out there or whatever.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, if you see it during the day, it's this low fog. It looks very eerie.
Scary.
It's creepy. It's creepy as ever. The Civil War happened right there. It's only 2 hours away from us. So if you ever go, it looks creepy. It is not. It's you get nauseous walking out in the fields because
you can feel it.
It's death. People die. Like wherever you step, someone died. Like there just is what it is. Someone wasn't alive here. And I feel like with the plantation stuff, you saw cotton, but you didn't see it high cotton. And that's when it's like the everything, and they're coming out the brush, and you didn't hear the slaves themselves singing the songs. You didn't see the slavers' brutality. Like if you're going slow, you get beat. If you do anything contrary, they just did it at their own whim. Mm-hmm. So I feel like with that,
you consider her the seizure she was having.
Right.
You know how many times she probably got beat
right
beat out of a seizure.
Right.
Because there was rumor that she was lazy.
Right, but she wasn't lazy.
She had brain damage.
Right, like she wasn't right. She wasn't right in the head.
Not at all. Literally.
You're right.
Like
it's terrible. It's horrible.
So they didn't show. They just in the movie. If you have not watched it, they discussed what happened. Like, oh, my master branded me. He beat me.
They would show their wounds and things like that because they had to document it in case any slavers came up to get them or whatever. They had to know who was who, what was what.
Yeah, they discussed it. They showed wounds, but they didn't show actual beatings. They kind of
they glossed over the brother's scars when he took his shirt off. You saw that.
The whips,
the lashes,
the lashes. So so some people felt like it was a watered down version of what it. I kind of felt like they wanted it to be a family film.
Right. I think that the information was more important than the graphic nature of it all.
I was kind of fine with that because we have enough ones that show.
Right, but you know what? I do want to see, like, I think the conversation for a long time was, do we need another slave movie? You know, black people are like, do we need another one?
I always feel like we do because of the population.
But you know what?
We work with.
My thing is I want a slave movie that made me feel like Roots used to. And I told you this the other day before we did the review when I watched it. It gave me Root vibes a little bit.
This one?
Yes, a little bit. In the sense of, it made me want to go, it just had that, how do you say, like, amongst us, it's different. So for people, forgive my language, but it makes you hate white people for a second.
Oh.
Because you think about it.
To be honest, have not watched all of Roots.
Ever?
No, because
they remade
Roots. I've watched certain parts and certain. Okay. At the time when my mom was trying to get me to watch it, I was in high school, and my mom had took me from a mixed school to a predominantly white school. There was literally at one time only 10 black people in the entire high school.
Right.
In that season of my life, I did not want to watch Roots.
Right.
Because I would not be able to function correctly at school. I'm going to want to fight. And, but you know, I'm hearing rumors that they calling certain, I've never encountered that. But you're going to, if I'm at a school, there's classes I'm taking, even in college, where I'm the only black person. I have to be able to maintain, and I need to be able to graduate.
We'll see. We'll see. This is where I'm slightly different than you. Because I think we had this conversation a few years ago. Where, you know, as a kid, I went to a predominantly black school. Then I moved to a mixed school where we had everything. Asians, Mexican, Muslim, all that. It was a big melting pot school. And then I wound up going to a predominantly white school. And the contrast between the three is that I think for me, it gave me the ability to go from all black, mixed, all white, and see each dynamical spectrum. Yeah,
because I've been through all of them too.
Right.
Through my years of growing up and
stuff.
But
I graduated from the white school. I graduated from East Allegheny, out here in Norfolk South. And there are things that the city doesn't know because the school hid it. We had a race riot, and this is 2004. The NAACP actually had to come to the school because one of these white girls, my boy Dre, this when AIM was big and you could chat rooms and stuff like that and message. And he was in chat room with 2 white girls. The one white girl had said some outrageous stuff once he signed off. The other white girl took it upon herself to print it out, bring it to school, show Dre. And at first he confronted her like, hey, what's going on? She's like, no, I didn't mean it like that. Da, 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 da. And then when we went to walk away, for some reason I was privy to these situations, which is crazy to me. But I was there for all of these situations. We went to walk away, and she's like, yeah, I did it, nigger. What you gonna do, porch monkey? Da, 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 da. And he turned around like, what? And like he went off, and we had police in our school. They're grabbing him. And it actually got to the point where one of the officers actually pulled out his blackjack and was about to hit him. And I had to grab the sergeant and like, yo, get your officers. And they had to push him back. And that led to, like, that was the start of the week. And then, like, maybe a day or two later, one of my other boys, one of the younger boys, said something wild to one of the cheerleaders. And her boyfriend, football jock dude, was like, what's wrong with you people? You people always do that. And da-da-da. He's like, what you mean you people? He's like, you fucking niggers. And it sparked. And when I tell you, there might have only been 12 of us black kids in that school at that time. 12 of us.
Listen, I know that life.
As soon as he popped off, it didn't matter. Everybody, hey, we were fighting everybody. It didn't matter. I had to stop one dude from punching my cousin in the face. She's a female. I'm like, bruh, you want to fight? Come holler at me. Like, that's what we're not going to do. But see, they took that sucker way out. So after that, we had this program that they put in place for race relations amongst the students, and we started planning things. But this is 2004, 2005. That we had these racial problems. I got a citation from a North Versailles police officer because my white teacher, when they used to search your bags in the morning, I simply asked him to close my bag back up. He refused and threw my bag back at me. He threw it at me. That didn't matter to that officer. I said something. I walked away. I went to tell my homeroom teacher. The cop followed me from where he's supposed to be at his post, watching the kids come in, to my homeroom where I was telling my teacher what just happened. As he got in my face, I tried to maintain civility. I was a teenager. That lasted not long. And I spazzed on him. We were going to go to the office. We got halfway there. The bell rang. He gave me a citation. I had to go to court. Went to court, explained it. The white magistrate told me, oh, you don't know the rules, boy, do you? I said, what you mean I don't know the rules? He checked my bag. I asked him to close it up. That's all it was. Now, the sergeant, who I told you I was cool with, had actually helped me to where I wasn't going to have to do anything. Mm-hmm. But when the judge started talking to me like I wasn't human and shit, I was like, whoa, your officer was wrong. All I asked the teacher to do was to close it. Oh, you don't know your role, do you? Do you, boy? You just talking. Mm. He made me write down the rules of the school.